Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do twice a month on a Monday. I like to bring authors into my home and we talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight, Caleb and Kelly is joining me. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm good. I've like I told somebody earlier today. I've been looking forward to this for weeks since the first time we talked about it. So, I mean, I'm like we said, we were pretty sure that the first time we did this was about 6 months ago, and I love doing stuff like this. I love connecting with people and really getting the audience involved. And to be honest, I could talk to a stop sign, and I'd be happy with it.
No complaints from me. I love it too. I love connecting with readers and meeting new authors. You are no longer new to me. You were the last time we chatted, and we were just talking about it, but we chatted about 6 months ago.
Right.
And I can't believe it's already been 6 months. And
Right.
since then, a lot has happened that you've
Yes,
given me
ma'am.
a little background in before we went live. So I want to talk about everything that we can. But before we begin, can you let us know number one where you're from, and just give us a little background to Caleb?
Yeah. So I'm from a small point of northeast Georgia around the Hartwell Lake area. And I've kind of been here since me and my family moved here when I was in middle school, I think it was. I'm now 10 years out of high school, and I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in fine arts with a focus of creative writing. That's actually my bachelor's up there on the wall. So uh,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you so much. It's been quite the roller coaster, to be honest, and I didn't expect it to. I mean, I expected there to be work, and I just didn't expect it to be as fun as it ended up being. And I think what has kind of helped me is the fact that I'm already published, self-published. So I've been able to assist other students who are looking to go into publishing, and I'm a big advocate for self-publishing. I'm one of the first ones to. I don't want to say I put the nail in the coffin of traditional publishing, but I don't advocate traditional publishing at all. And the reason is and if I'm correct, Tina, you're self-published. That's right.
Yeah, my first book, Reckless Beginnings, was through a publisher. It
Hmm.
was a nightmare. It was a
Right.
nightmare. I had so many complaints. The
Yes.
thing that was for me was I had no control of my book. That
Yes. Oh
was
my
an
gosh.
issue. That was an issue. I wrote the book. It's my book. And all of
Right.
a sudden, it's not my book. And they have a say in everything. If I wanted to put the book on sale, and not only that, if you want to get into little things, the royalties. It's a huge, huge difference between
Yeah.
traditional and
Yes,
self-publishing.
ma'am.
So when I got the rights back after 2 years, 2 long, grueling years,
Oh my
I
gosh.
self-published, and since then I've never looked back, and I absolutely love it. I'm in
And
charge
see,
of my business, probably the same
thank
way.
you. There are so many people out there who say, well, self-publishing is the cheater's way out. No, it's not. It's honestly more work to be self-published than it is to be traditionally published. The only difference is that it's a out of your own pocket, but there's bigger royalties. You just are constantly in a place of control. The amount of self-published authors I've talked to, they all say the exact same thing, just like you said. It's
Mhm.
my book. I'm in control of my book, and you nobody else gets to
Yeah,
say.
and yes, you have to wear many hats
Yes,
when
you do.
you are self-publishing. But I also look at it as what's what I'm thinking of experience. You
That's
can never
right.
learn enough in today's world. And if for
That's
whatever reason I
exactly right.
decide not to continue writing books, I now have experience in publishing for other authors, or marketing for other authors, or editing for other authors.
Right.
All these other hats that I'm learning, I can use down the road if I choose to.
That's exactly right. I'm fortunate enough to where my editor and my publisher and my all out everything is my wife, and we kind of joined this together. She's been with me for the because we first published a book in I want to say 2020, and we did one before that. It was an absolute train wreck, and it will never see the light of day until I go through and give it an overhaul of dramatic proportions. But we've kind of been in side by side in this, and every decision we come across, we make it together. All of our business decisions, we make them together. And it's honestly, I've actually had some self-published authors tell me, well, you're cheating. You're doing it the easy way out because you have some assistance. You have someone who has learned these other parts, where there's a lot of authors who don't have that opportunity. The thing is that I get that. I understand it completely. I'm not taking anything away from an author who does all of this on their own. Well, I'm grateful that I have the benefit of my wife, who wholeheartedly jumped in with both feet and said, I'm going to make your dream our dream, and we're going to see it through to the end together. And I can't, I wouldn't be anything without my wife. Not even though I'm.
What a team! I'm sure she's here. I haven't even said hello to everybody yet. Let's take a quick break and see who's with us. I'm sure your wife is here. What is your wife's name? I'm sorry.
Courtney.
Courtney, I'm sure she's here. Let me see who's here. We've got Michelle Downing. She says hello. And Lori Chasko. I'm going to just click on a few names who's joining us. We got Lori says hello. Facebook user in my group. That's private. We got hello, Tina and Caleb. Barbara Miller from Florida. Let's see, Karen. She says hello. And then we got another Karen. I'm just going down the list here, saying hi to everybody. Again, I'm talking with Caleb and Kelly. If you have questions for Caleb, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll try and get to as many as I can. Linda, hi, Tina. What's up, Caleb? So glad to see you both.
Linda's one of my proofreaders.
Okay. Yes. And then we have April. She's giving us a wave. Let's see. Lawrence, that says hello. A few more. We have Darlene. And here's Tina. So Caleb, I want to start. I was going to start with your solo trilogy, but you've been talking about your wife, so I want to jump on board with this right away. You and your wife have written a book together called Tethered.
Sort of. I mean, she's kind of the same way with Tethered. I am working on something. It's for my thesis novel for my master's class, where we actually come up with the idea when we were still dating. I believe we were 15 years old. And just to kind of preference that, me and my wife are 30 years old. We're actually only 14 days apart, I think. It might be 17. I'm not sure. I was waiting for her to correct me. But we have been married 10 years, and we dated for 5 years before that. So we got together when because we're 31 this year, we were 16. So half of our life has been us together. And this was something that so Tethered actually come up. It was originally just an idea. I wanted to get into fantasy romance, and it just kind of budded from there. And what's funny is Tethered and the two books that come after it, as well as the next book in my Primus Viper saga, all that, there were 6 books that were written in the span of about 6 months. And I just hit a really hard point in my life, and I just went from there. I kind of hit my stride and was doing a massive word count. I think it ended up being something like close to 300,000 words in 6 months to get those out.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And this is all for the Tethered series?
No, ma'am. Now the 3 of them are for Tethered. I ended up writing the 4th book in my Primus Viper saga. And I want to say that the other book that I'm currently writing for my thesis, I'm almost done with it, actually. I'll actually be done with it in about 2 weeks, I think. But yeah, all of this was it was just a spur of the moment thing. I wanted to.
It's on a roll.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
The thing is that I reached the point of I no longer write when I feel like it. Discipline has become my biggest thing. I make sure I sit down. I get in at the very least, 15 to 2,000 words a day. If I'm really doing well, I'll get in about 3,000. The best day I've ever had was about 6,000. I don't know if I'll ever hit that again, but
that's a brilliant day, and it really does make a huge difference.
Yes, ma'am.
If you treat your writing as your job,
That's exactly right.
yeah, and that's what I had to do after Reckless Beginnings, which took years and years to write. And I told myself I'll never do that again because my readers won't stand for it. They just won't. So after that is when I disciplined myself. And like you, my day is not over with, and now my goal is 2,000 a day.
Yes,
so my goal is my day is not over. If I still, I mean, I don't have to write them all in one sitting. I can write 500 words in the morning, go about and do some stuff I got to take care of, come back in the afternoon and write another 500 words. But my day is not over until I've written those 2,000 words.
Right. And I'm the same way. And see, I wasn't that way until for some reason, I didn't discover sprinting until much later in my career. And I've gotten to where I absolutely love sprinting. It has increased my word count. And mind you, I don't pay attention to the editing side of things until after the first draft is done. I have found out when I sprint, a lot of times it can be utter garbage. But in one sprint, I go from about 650 upwards into 800 words in that 15 to 20 minutes. So to hit my word goal, I only need about 4 sprints a day, give or take.
There you go.
And like I've told people in my classes, there is no reason you can't take 15 minutes aside from your day and just type for those 15 minutes. And I've had people say, well, I can only do about 200 words. I can only do about 150 words. The more you sprint, the faster you will get, the easier it will come, the better it will flow. And I can promise you, practice makes perfect. So you doing it constantly and consistently, you're going to get better. I can promise that.
Yeah, I've tried the sprinting. I don't do it all the time. And it's because I forget. I just want to sit down. I just forget to set my clock. And then I'll look and go, how long have I been writing? And then I realize I didn't set the alarm on my clock.
Right.
Well, I have tried it. I just forget about it. Mm-hmm. But for me, what I like about it is it gives you the bones to your story. Like you said, it doesn't have to be perfect, the first draft, and it never is.
Right.
It never is. But now I have the bones, and then I start the tedious stuff of cleaning it up and rewriting it. But at least I know what the story's about, where it's going. Do you plot your books?
I do. I used to not be. Yes, ma'am. I used to be a pantser. Now I call myself a plantser to a degree because I will plot around the first 10 chapters or so, but I won't plot more than those first 10 chapters because I want to give myself room to allow the characters to do whatever they want to do as they make the decisions. And I've told people this more times than I can count. I do not have control over the decisions my characters make. A lot of times they make those decisions without me involved at all. So the fact is that I leave room for them to make those decisions on their own. And then I try to play catch up. And that's what ends up turning the book into just a book, just the words, into a living organism as to what's going on. So when I figured out that piece of the formula that worked for me to plot about a quarter of the novel or so, that allowed me to have the space to know the direction I'm going, but also have room to run with the characters and whatever path off my intentional goal was. So that's kind of where I am with it now.
And then do you always know how the book ends before you get to the ending?
I have a good idea of where it's going to end. I always start with knowing, because I've told people, I said, if you really want to get down to the kind of bare bones of writing, know where you're going to start, know where you're going to end, and then go from the end to the beginning. Figure out how to get from where you want to go to where you're starting at. Again, just because I know where it's going to end, or I think I have a good idea of where it's going to end, does not mean it's actually going to end where I think it's going to.
I have no clue how my
No. Okay. See, I understand that completely.
I tried once to plot.
Right.
It was a disaster. It was a total disaster. And I said, never again. I'll just listen to my characters and they can tell me what to do and write, because obviously they don't listen to me.
They really don't. It's kind of it's a little bit of nerve wracking, but at the same time, it's fun to watch them do whatever it is they're going to do. I've had whole characters show up out of nowhere, and I'm like, I didn't plan for this person. Where did this
Where'd you
person come from?
And your solo saga, which is the Primus Vipers saga.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you know, and then you said that Tethered is also going to be a series. What I
Yes,
love
ma'am.
about writing series is getting to know these characters in each book. I'm
That's one
sure
of my
it's
favorite things.
the same characters in all your books, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now with and we'll talk about Tethered later, but with so I just had some introduction to some new characters in the book that I just released. Actually, no, I'm sorry. For anyone who's reading my books, it's not in the book I just released. It's in the book that I just finished writing, the fourth one in the series. So I do apologize for that. Um, let's see. And the thing is that my characters, and I think there are some readers here in the chat who can tell you, and I've been threatened by this before. If I kill these certain two characters, they'll riot and they'll stop reading my books. They will put them down. So
You have been told and warned.
yes, and one of the women I work with at my day job, she has told me, and she's a lovely person. I love her to death, and she has told me if you kill these two characters, we will fight out in the back of the building. And I'm at the point where I'm like, well, it's a good thing I didn't really ever intend on killing these characters. Actually, that's not true. I did intend on killing one of them, but I've since changed
Not gonna
my
happen
mind.
now, huh?
I've changed my mind due to the death threats, but yeah, I get it. I once I hear how many, and the thing is, I want people to fall in love with my characters, and I want them to love the flaws. I want them to love the pros and the cons of each character, and that is wholeheartedly what had happened. It's funny because the two main characters, a lot of my readers actually don't like them. They'd say they're very hard-headed, very naive, very just will make spur of the moment decisions without thinking about it. And I've told them, I was like, welcome to a modern day character when they do that a lot, all the time. Because even with our modern day people, a lot of times we make decisions based on what we think is right in the moment, and that ends up being a bad idea.
Then what
Which
I like
again,
about letting the characters take the lead is I really don't know how the characters are
right,
until about 3 or 4 or 5 chapters into the book, and that's when
right.
they unfold and show me their personalities, show me
Mhm.
the traits, show me the characteristics, and for me, it's just fascinating because, like you said, some are hard-headed, and you probably didn't know that when they first came into the scene.
No, it's actually funny because with this series specifically, with this book specifically, I had an idea of what I wanted the characters to be like. I didn't realize when I first started writing them, and even my wife told me, like I said, she's my editor and she's my alpha reader, my one of my proofreaders. She told me that she wasn't really getting a lot of emotion out of these characters. And so I sat down one day and started thinking about who they were as people. And I realized that and the two characters are brothers, they're twin brothers. Both of them have characteristics that I have myself. And as I was sitting there thinking about them, I got emotional. I broke down because I reached a point of epiphany, realizing who these characters were and how much of me was in them.
Oh
And
wow!
she just sat there beside me, just kind of awestruck at the fact that I got very emotional, and she just I don't want to say she helped me, but she definitely comforted me. It hit me that hard. And I've
And
with these books, I'm so attached to these characters that when something happens to them, I've been sitting there writing a scene and writing some whatever's going on. I've had to get up and break from writing it because I was crying as I put these characters through mortal hell. It hurts me to sit there and write them in a situation like that.
but
And
these characters become real to us. I
yes,
mean,
they very much.
we're spending our time with them day in and day out,
Yes, ma'am.
getting to know them. They are like our friends. And it's
Yep.
being, I can relate to that because I just wrote the last book in my Sabella series. after 8 books, this is it. This is the final book. I'm like,
oh, the whole for both you and your readers.
I'm sorry?
The whole that it's something like that creates for
Yeah.
both you and your readers.
Yeah. And it's like, this is it. This is the last time I'll talk about, Slater and Sabella and Jill and Ricky. And it's like, wow. And it's pretty heavy when I wrote that last sentence in the series. And now I'm cleaning it up. But let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about your book. Let's start with the series, the saga, the Pyramid Vipers saga books. There's 3 right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just give us a little background? I mean, you've talked about the characters and the joy of writing it, but just give us a little background on what the books are about, the genre, and I'd also like to know what inspired them.
Yeah. And I think we talked a little bit about this the last time. I think at the time only the first book was out, and I think I finished up the second one and the third one in that 6 months of really hardcore hitting it. So the books are about twin brothers who they played they were knights as children, and so now that they're older, they've separated. They each have their own lives. One is a lawyer, the other's an archaeologist. The archaeologist still clings to the idea of Excalibur, so he goes looking for it constantly, spends years looking for it. Well, one day he finally finds it, and so he calls his brother and he tells him, "I found it. Come with me." And so there a little bit of tragedy happens in the lawyer's life, because he originally wasn't going to, and so he kind of ends up getting fired from his job, goes with his brother. They find the sword. What they don't know is that there's actually 2 swords. They're booby trapped by Merlin, and they end up falling into Camelot, which in my books is a separate dimension where some dragons are kept prisoners by Merlin. And these dragons are the dragons of origin. They're the dragons of the beginning of time. And when they escape Camelot, they come back and find out that time has passed different in Camelot than it did in the real world. And disaster and utter chaos has befallen the world in their place, all because of these dragons they freed. Now it's their job to figure out how to get the dragons back in Camelot and rebuild the world that they destroyed. And you follow them as they meet these 3 knights from Merlin's table called the Sworn Ones. And as they go, they're meeting dragons, one of which is friendly, the others not so much. And they end up meeting this. There's like a one world army in the world now, because the world didn't know what to do with this type of pandemic and I use that word lightly, that kind of befell out of nowhere. So now that there's this one world army, they think that that's the best route that's going to get the world back in order. And there's some secrets behind this one world army. And so you follow them and you learn about what the world is now, what has happened to the world in their absence. And they're always guilt-ridden about what they find, and it's their fault. But that they can't not do this. They can't shy away from this, because they are the only ones who can fix what they did. The swords only answer to them, because they were the chosen ones, chosen by the swords themselves the first time they touched them. So they're it. That's it. They can't stop unless they're willing to leave the world in absolute rubble. They have to follow through with this. So that's what it is. It's them and the characters they've picked up along the way, and the 3 sworn ones who are with them, to figure out how to set their world back in order.
And there's 3 books currently out, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And they're called, if I get Camelot's Reckoning is book 1.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Eden is book 2, and Mole is book 3.
Yes, ma'am. And Eden and Mole are part of this one world army. Eden is the, if I can remember, the Emergency Dragon Extraction Network.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they were designed to put forth to fight the dragons that kind of show up around the world. They have military bases all around the world so they can act fast. Mole does not really, I think they have an acronym. I think I added it much later, but the idea behind Mole was they are the opposite of Eden. They're the gosh, and I cannot think of the word for it right now, but they are actually, they believe Eden is evil, that they're not there for something good for the world. So they are Mole in their Garden of Eden, and they're there to simply put an end to what they believe is Eden's tyranny.
Wow. And you said there's going to be 2 more books after Mole?
I currently have planned for potentially 3, maybe 4, just depending on how things go.
As long as the readers want them.
Oh, I know.
Let me just take a pause and
Yes,
see what we've got going on in the questions here. Jenny, there we go. Jennifer's asking, do you have a newsletter?
I do, but I'm horrible at keeping it up, mainly because I haven't really gone in depth into these things, and my wife and I plan on adjusting that a little bit next year. So I do have a newsletter. I don't send it out regularly, and the reason is because we don't have the financial stability to back us up like we'd like to. Now, that being said, my wife just got a job, and originally like I said, we've been married for 10 years. Due to the economy, we got to the point to where she had to start working. And it's not that she didn't want to, but we were just in a place that I wanted her to stay home, work with my books as best as she could. But the economy kind of took a downturn for things. So she got a job, and we were living off my salary for the last 10 years or so. But now that she has a job, we have a little bit of excess, and we plan to use that with her permission, as long as she is okay with it, because it's her money. I don't want to sound like a tyrant, but she's very much in the place of this isn't just your dream anymore. This is our dream. So my money, I'm happy to lend any excess I have towards building this for each other, because she looks at me with puppy eyes and says, I want to come back home. So get this dream going so I can come home.
It's temporary, is what
yes,
it is.
It is very much
temporary. Another question from Jennifer. I'm just going up real quick. Do you have a favorite place to write your book or books?
I don't really have a favorite place. The majority of my writing takes place at work. I have 3 breaks throughout the day, and so I have a desk. And I'll write at my desk. So I have 2 built-in 15-minute sprints on my first break and my third break. And I only take about 10 minutes to eat lunch. So then I have a 20-minute sprint there right after lunch. But my wife works. She doesn't usually get off work till about 5 or 5:30, which gives me an hour because I'm off at 4. And I'll come home and get in sprints, and I'll clean the house a little bit and try to straighten up things. So she's not got so much on her plate when she gets home. Now, because she has to be in at work at 6:45 in the morning, we're up at 5 o'clock. I help her get the kids ready because they go to my mother-in-law's and she babysits them throughout the day while we're both at work. So I get her off, and she leaves at 5:30. I don't have to be at work until about 6:30. So from 5:30 to 6, I'll type then too. So I've got sprints built into my day just by happenstance. None of them are my favorite. I don't think I really have a favorite place. It's just wherever I can get to my Google Docs.
And I want to just cover, because Dana asked the same question. So I just want to publish. Hey, Dana, how you doing? But I saw you ask the same question. Here's one from someone in the groups asking, where do you come up with the names of your characters?
Okay, so the 3 sworn ones, their names are straight out of what was written down from Merlin's or for King Arthur's Round Table. And I'll go ahead and tell you who they are, because it's not going to really destroy anything if you haven't read the books. But Lionel is the leader of the 3. Then it's Caradoc, and then Leo de Grant. All 3 of those are names taken from from King Arthur's Round Table. Now, if you get into some of my other books, like when we talk about Tethered, the names from that come from different languages. And I typically like the Finnish language. So I'll use a word to describe the character. Like, for instance, if they're a magician or they're a knight or they're an archer, I'll just use one word like arrow. And then whatever the Finnish word for that is, I will kind of twist it around to sound phonetically pleasing, and they derive from that language. Finnish is most definitely my favorite one. Finnish and Icelandic are the two that I use the most of.
You definitely put some thought into the names. And if I remember correctly, your children have beautiful names too. You have three.
They do.
Three
My
kids?
oldest son is he's 7 years old. He's D'Artagnan, taken straight from the Three Musketeers. Actually, he's D'Artagnan Alexander, taken straight from the character and then from the author. My middle child is Annora, my only daughter. She's Annora Grace. And then my youngest son, he's 2. He's a Garrison Cade. And Garrison is actually the name of a character in my Primus Vipers books. And the reason he's Garrison is because I really like the name, so I wanted to use it. I ended up using it as one of the characters in my book, and then we kind of found out we were expecting. We found out it was a boy, and so we stole the name from my own book.
Names. I remember last time we talked about your children, the names. They're just beautiful names. I want to put this up. This is really sweet. You are not only a great writer, you're a special person and a wonderful friend. So I wanted to put that up in case you didn't see that.
Yes, I love Linda to death, and we've had dinner together a few times. Like I said, Linda's one of my proofreaders. She gets all of my books before they go live. So she has gotten, she got Camelot's Reckoning, she got Eden, and she got Mole. And I've got one more proofreader, Kristen Johnson, who I love dearly. She's funny because when she reads the book, she'll call me and fuss at me for what happens in the book if she doesn't like it, or tell me about if she does love it. I absolutely love hearing from Kristen.
That's what you need. That's what you need.
Yes, it is.
It really is. And then Lori has a question for you. She'd like to know which of your characters is most like you.
Honestly, in my own opinion, if we're talking about the two, Roland. Roland is a lot like me. Now, and again, because both characters are pieces of me, the thing is that Roland's brother, and for some reason I can't think of his name right now, he has a bit of a white knight syndrome. So he's all about saving anyone who needs saving. Roland lives in a place of, I don't want to be forgotten. I want my name and my likeness to be remembered no matter what. I possess both of those attributes. I don't like the idea of ever be forgotten. It's one of the things that I love, the fact that I'm an author. My books will always be here as long as we don't have a great government downfall for the world. My books will always be here. I'm one to, honestly, to sacrifice myself to save those that I love the most and care about the most. And a lot of times it has made it where I end up crossing my own boundaries to save others, to really put myself out there for the other people. And he does it in the book too. I mean, he does it often because he's in a place of, I want to save everyone, which is why he likes the fact that he wields Excalibur. He likes the fact that the world is destroyed because of him, because ultimately now he has to save the world. There's no one else who can do it. So he's in a place of, this is a dream come true for him. Even though he destroyed everything, seeing the dream come to fruition. Yeah.
All right. And then continue with that. Because other than yourself that you see in your characters, Dana asks, is anyone else that you know reading your books?
Oh, that's kind of hard to say. And the reason I say it is because I use bits and pieces of people through all of my books. Because I want the characters to seem as real as humanly possible. When I first started writing, at the age of 13, I carried a loose leaf notebook around with me. And I wrote a story that plagiarized X-Men really bad and will never, ever see the light of day because I risk deep, deep lawsuits if it ever does. I wrote that book with the intention of using it as type of journal. The characters were based off my friends, the things that happened to them that happened to me. I remember the character I based off of me ended up getting a crush on a character in the book. That crush was based off a girl who I went to school with. And mind you, that crush never came to anything, which I'm very happy to say did not, because I wouldn't have my beautiful wife if it did. So, yes, that character, all of those characters, if there was drama within our group, there was drama within my book too. And what's sad is that was, golly, that was 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I still have it. I still have that loose leaf notebook paper somewhere in my house. And my wife said, she just told me, she said, I'll keep it forever, even though she knows it's a personal journal of mine for before we were together, when I was a child, honestly. But she claims she's going to keep it forever because it's the first thing I ever wrote. It was the first thing, and it's atrocious. It's in handwriting from a 13-year-old. So it was written with a
clean
numbers.
It up, publish it one day. You know?
Oh yeah.
You never know. Okay, Caleb. You said you want to read you're going to read an excerpt for us.
Yes. So and not to hurt anything. Someone said Puff in the comments. Yes, Puff is one of those characters.
Okay.
Again, not to tell too much, but he's one of those that if he ever dies, you probably won't hear from me anymore because they'll riot. So Tethered is the first book of what will be my debut romantic fantasy. Now, again, as I told you before we got started, this book was released on Amazon, but we took it down because we wanted to, and I say we because it's me and my wife. We took it down because we wanted to take the pen name and put it in a different space than the other books. So Tethered will go live on Kindle Vella in August, and anything that's written by Nikolai will go Kindle Vella as well. Just because I've always loved the idea of an episodic, and that's what these are. So to give you kind of a background about Tethered, and to be honest, I'll give you an idea of how still in process it is. This is part of my of how I do my editing. So what you yes, this is not what the official end all excerpt is. So I apologize that it's going to be rough and horrible. I do have the published book in my office at work. It's Linda's that I'm going to send to her in this week. It's one of her gifts for being a proofreader. So I do apologize for how horrible this is going to be.
No. I'm sure it's going to be great.
It's really not. It's so rough. But I will go ahead and read the blurb on the back just to kind of preference it. Okay. It says, she lives to prevent death. He kills to command it. Moro is desperate to prove to his father that he can control the Kawave and the Kawave necromancers against the Vespira healers. With a small band of his... Sorry, I'm suffering from vertigo, so I apologize.
That's okay.
With a small band at his disposal, he searches for an elusive gravesite that will end the Vespira. However, his plan leaves him at the mercy of an enemy blade. Lena is Vespira and is responsible for clearing the battlefield so the dead cannot be weaponized against her people. I'm sorry, I've got the do not resell on here as well.
That's okay.
She says she should kill the necromancer and set his corpse ablaze with the others, but something about him calls to her, and she betrays her clan to save him. With the war between the clans raging around them, both crave an end to the violence. Together they form a plan in hopes of ending the bloodshed. Will they risk it all to honor the emotions blooming in their heart? Okay, so Again, this is, and the thing is, I wanted to write about necromancers. I felt like there wasn't enough books out there that kind of dealt with that type of person. So I really wanted to. I've been craving it for a while, and so finally, I just decided to do it.
Just do it.
So, yes, and again, this is chapter by chapter, they point of view by point of view. So the first chapter is in the point of view of Morrow, who is yeah, it is the male lead within the book. All right. So chapter 1, Morrow pulled the bone mask off his face. Sweat dripped down his arms, running the curves of his toned muscles and to his fingertips. The salty bead dripped from his middle finger and fell to the damp grass underneath his feet. The green blades were drenched with a combination of rain, sweat, and blood, the latter being the most prominent. Everywhere he stepped, crimson droplets splashed onto his black leather boots and to the shin of his guards protecting his legs. Morrow wiped his mouth, staring at the light tan robes on the other side of the battlefield. 7 of them stretched out into a wall opposite his armored brothers. Their leather body armor was a stark contrast to the robes their adversaries wore. But even with the difference in attire, only 4 of his clansmen still stood from the 15 that marched along his side. None of them knew the kind of battle ahead. The healers fighting against them should have been slaughtered, but it was the opposite of what they thought. No one could have been prepared for such talented opponents. The Vespera kept their skills a secret from those outside the clan. The Coave believed this to be a quick war that had proven much different. A man on the other side smirked at Morrow. "Why do you hesitate, son of the Grandmaster?" He was the supposed leader of the Vespera Corps that met them. He led them through the battlefield and commanded their formations from the front. Morrow didn't know his name, but they apparently knew him. "I'm picturing your death," Morrow replied, hoping his words sounded firmer out loud than they did in his head. The Coave members accompanying him moved in closer, stepping around the bodies lying at their feet. "You must have a vivid imagination," the leader called back, his voice ringing over the rain as it fell harder around them. "You've lost over half those who accompanied you. Only 3 of my brothers have fallen. You came here today with death in mind. Little did you know it was that of your brothers that would happen." Morrow clenched his jaw and wiped his nose, trying to clear the smell of death that permeated it. He pulled one of the vials of blood snugged into the leather belt around his waist. Using his teeth, he popped the cork from the top of the bottle and poured the contents onto his left hand. It was warm and smelled thick of the notorious metallic sting that came with the life essence of others. The rain fell onto his hand, and with each drop, the blood washed away to diluted streams that traced the crevices of his palm. "Show me how vivid my imagination is." Morrow slammed his palm into the ground. It broke apart in front of him in an explosion of dust and gravel. Mud slang from the ground, sloshing as a large skeletal hand burst from the wet dirt. Within a moment, he summoned a Hajunaut. It pulled himself up from the ground, grabbing at the soaked battlefield as for leverage. The warrior skeleton was huge, nearly 8 feet tall. Morrow could feel the skeleton in the ground underneath his feet and chose him as his summon. He was fortunate that such a man had found death in the field where they battled. It creaked and moaned as it stretched its limbs. The skeleton's bones were thick as tree limbs. Rent clothing hung loosely from its body. The hoarseness reverberating from its wretched bones sounded like wind blowing through a graveyard. It stood up straight and pulled the axe hanging by its side. "This will be the last face you see."
Wow. Very good.
Thank you.
Now, what genre is this?
It's a romantic fantasy. Technically, I guess it's dark romantic fantasy, but that's what it is. It will. It's definitely not G or PG rated at all.
Are there steamy scenes in it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yes. Okay. I want to put up some comments on your live read. We got one from Karen. What a great reading, interesting and intriguing. Hold on, I want to put that coming up fast. Karen says, wonderful reading. Barbara, thank you for the reading, Caleb. Lori, great reading and description. And we have another one from Lori. I like fantasy. Now, you mentioned that this is going to be in Kindle Vella.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to people who are not familiar how that works? I'm not
Yeah.
too familiar myself, actually.
So Kindle Vella, and I didn't either. Actually, this was my wife's idea because she knew I liked the idea of episodic writing, serialization. So basically, Vella is one of those things where you release a couple chapters each week, and the readers pay for a type of allowance, which allows them access to those chapters each week. And I made sure it wasn't more than something like Kindle Unlimited, because I didn't feel it would be fair to put my book up on a separate platform where you had to eventually pay more to get it than what you would get if you just had it on a Kindle Vella or something like that. So it kind of plays to my strong point, just because I've always been someone who said to write each chapter like a standalone novel, so that by the end of that chapter, whoever's reading it, they have a reason to turn the page. If you don't give the reader a reason to flip to the next page, they won't do it. So writing it like that allows me to really play on that idea.
And is that Vella, correct?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
it Bella's requirement that you have to do it every week?
I'm actually not sure. Courtney
Yes.
is again, she's
Ask
my
the boss.
business side of things. Does Vella require that you release 2 chapters every week?
No.
No, they don't. Okay.
You release however many you want. A lot of people just say 2 chapters a week.
Okay, so you can release however many you want, but 2 chapters a week is the standard.
So you have to release something at least every week.
You do have to release at least every week. So it
And
can
if
be.
your book, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And if your book is in Vella or your chapters are in Vella, then you're unable to put it in Kindle Unlimited or have it.
That's correct. Once your last part is in Vella, 30 days after that last chapter is there or last part, you can release it onto Kindle Unlimited.
Ah, okay, that makes sense because you're releasing it little at a time. You don't want the whole book out there.
Right, correct.
And do you get paid the same way as Kindle by page?
Do you get paid the same way as you do with Kindle?
You get paid based on the coins people buy to read your stories.
Okay.
Each chapter costs a certain amount of coins.
Okay, it's a little embarrassing that I have to ask my wife these questions, but again, she's the business side of she learned everything for this. So the readers buy coins, and then the coins is the payment. So every time they use the coins to purchase a new part or a new chapter, you get paid via.
There's also a Kindle Vella bonus for their bestsellers.
There's also Kindle Vella bonus for their bestsellers.
Okay, this is all new to me. I've not even dove into Vella, so I'm asking because it's like, something new going on at Amazon.
I had no idea when my wife first pitched it to me. I was kind of on the fence about it, but given the fact that it allows me to stagger my writing schedule. So we're going to make sure, like, Tethered is going to have a little bit of revamping, because writing as a book that we would release all at once was one aspect in one format. However, because I've got to make sure the end of each chapter is as hooky as humanly possible, we're revising it. So we're making sure the first 10 chapters are done by our release date in August, and then I'm working on the other chapters as I go. So it allows me to continue working on those other chapters, all while making sure I'm still doing word count for my thesis novel, editing for the 4th book of the Princess Viper saga that is written, as well as another duology that Nikolai will release eventually one day.
You're a busy man.
Unfortunately, I try to be. It's part of
3 kids, a full-time job, and you're writing 2,000 words a day. And I do want to get this in here because I'm looking at the time, but I'm excited for you because you were talking about something that's going on or happening as far as your career goes.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
I want to just, I want you to let the readers know because I'm really
Yeah,
excited for you.
absolutely.
Let us know
And it's
what's going
not
on.
set in stone as of yet. Right now,
Mhm.
it's still an opportunity. But I'm currently pursuing my master's with Southern New Hampshire University. And I just got a call from my academic advisor and my career advisor that the college is expanding and is going to be looking for some more academic advisors. As soon as my career advisor and academic advisor heard about this, they immediately thought of me for the position. So for the last 2 weeks, we've been polishing my resume and my cover letter for the position. They're going to refer me personally as soon as it becomes available. And hopefully within a few months, I will be an academic advisor at Southern New Hampshire University. It is the first step to eventually, hopefully, becoming a professor with the college with creative writing or writing in general as a subject matter. So again, I don't know how many are in the chat are religious. Tina, I'm not sure how religious you are, but given the fact that I was raised up in church, I am a Christian. I pray every single day, hoping that this ends up becoming. This will be the first step for me in a big career change, as well as going towards what my degree is in. Again, my bachelor's for fine arts with a focus of creative writing is up there on the wall. I will eventually have my master's. I've got about a year and a half left of it. Um, I'm flying to Massachusetts, where Southern New Hampshire is, once I get my master's, both to celebrate the fact that I've done this, I have this achievement, and to meet my advisors because they're incredible women. Um, I
Fantastic.
think a lot of them, and I'm glad I ended up having them as help for this because if I get the job, I'm going to owe them both dinner.
Well, it looks like your hard work is paying off. It really
Yes,
is. It
and
really
what
is.
the what's so funny about this is about a month ago, I was ready to hang it up. I was in a place where I was saying there's no point in getting my master's degree because I'm going self-published. I'm not going traditional. So what is that piece of paper going to do? And about a month later, the opportunity for the college just dropped into my lap. I didn't know about it. I wasn't looking for it. They saw it, immediately thought of me, and they said, if you get your master's, this is going to be your path to finding exactly what you want. So I was in a place of hanging it up. I was ready to be done. All I could see was how much money it was going to cost me at the end of the line, and this opportunity presented itself. And so
That answer.
anyone anyone here in the chat, if you are someone who prays, please prayers, best
Yeah.
wishes,
And we'll cross our
manifestation,
fingers,
whatever
cross
it
our
is.
toes, do it all.
Yes,
We wish you tons of luck, and you got to let us
thank
know
you.
how it goes.
Oh,
Keep it
I
posted.
believe me. If you follow my page, and again, I do have a page for all my fans, and Tina is a part of it. There's a few in the chat here is a part of it. Linda, Karen, and again, if you're a friend on Facebook, you're welcome to send me a friend request. I promise you, if this happens, I will
We'll
blow it up
know.
on my Facebook for a very long time.
Well, I'm rooting for you. I really am. We're coming up to the top of the. I mean, I could talk to you for another hour, Caleb.
Me
It's
too.
I know there's so many questions we did not get to,
Yes.
but I have one final. And if you have a chance after we're done doing the live, if you want to go to my author page and also in the group and answer questions we missed, because I know there's a lot
Yes.
that I didn't get to.
Yes, there
But
is.
I have one final question to you that I like to ask all my author guests is what advice do you give to an aspiring author that is not published a book yet but wants to? What advice would you give to them?
Um, Go self-publish. I mean that's my number one thing is and the thing about traditional publishing versus self-publishing is like we talked about control, and royalties is a big one. And far be it from me to be one who sticks a nail in the idea of traditional publishing, but I'm one of those who believes that with the amount of independent authors on the rise, I just don't know how traditional publishing is going to maintain the place it is right now. Mark Dawson, who's a big independent publisher in the UK. A lot of independent publishers know about Mark. He is one of the first independent authors that I know of, and I think my wife knows of a few. He is potentially working on a movie deal for the first book that he's ever had. So if you're like me, I was in a place of, well, as an independent author, you're just never going to have the opportunity for just be seen on the big screen or on television. There are independent authors who are currently proving that wrong.
I agree with that. I love his podcast, Mark Dawson.
Yes.
And what's his name?
Golly, his last name is Blanche. I cannot think of his first name.
Mark Blanche. Mark Blanche. Mark.
No, Stuart Blanche.
Not James.
I think that's what it is. It might.
James?
Oh, James Blanche. That's what it is.
Yes. I love that show.
Yes.
But yeah.
The SPF. If you write and you want to be published and you want to go into indie publishing, find the self-publishing formula page on Facebook. There are, I want to say, about 50,000 or more independent authors there. They offer fantastic advice.
I did the course. I loved his course.
Yes. We're going to take his course in the spring when it opens back up.
I love his course. I do.
That's because with the extra money that we have due to Courtney working now, we're going to take his course when it opens. That's what Courtney wanted to do. That's what she told me. She said with any extra money, we're going to save and we're going to learn his course, and then we're going to advertise with all the information that he offers from the course.
He's got a brilliant mind, and he also allows you to make payments if you can.
Oh, he does? I didn't know that. I thought it had to be all up front.
You can do a monthly payment, 3 months, 6 months, or a year.
Oh, Lord, don't tell my wife that, because she'll want to make it change now.
But yeah, you can do the monthly payment. Let me take you back. He did when I did the course. He gave you that option. Whether or not it's changed or not, I don't know. But
okay.
when I did it, and I did this course about 1.5 years ago.
Okay. And what strikes me about him and his course is he has said that he can all but guarantee some level of success with his course. I mean, he almost basically guarantees that you will do better with his course than you'll do without it. And your success and so many others I've seen success. And I'll never forget about, he did a success story about a couple, a husband and his wife. They were a team. He was the writer and she was the scenes, everything on the back side of things. And all I could do was think about me and Courtney. And I told her, I said, that's us right there. I was like, I will write. I will be the face, because I love her to death, but she is very introverted. She doesn't do, she's not the face of anything. And I told her, I said, I'll do the typing. I will do the words. You just simply be the person to help me get all that down, get it as polished and perfected as we can. And I will be the beautiful face behind the two of us, even if her face is much prettier than mine is. I will be out there in front for everybody. And she's told me, she said, her dream for me is 20 books to 50K. I'm sure you've heard about that.
Oh, I'm in that group, but I don't.
Oh, see,
I look. I'm a looker.
I'm a lurker on both of them. I mean, I'm not well enough off to.
I do listen to the podcast religiously because I commute like a 2-hour drive at least twice a week. So that is my go-to when I'm in my car. And I took the course, and he hits all aspects of authors.
Yes.
All aspects. It's not just publishing. It's not just writing. He covers the whole whatever you want to call it. You know.
And see, him and Mark are really good friends too. They kind of collaborate on a lot together. And so my wife has told me that one of her dreams is to see me on stage in Vegas at the 20 books to 50K convention.
I want to go there too, and I just haven't made it down there yet.
Yeah. And I told her then, I was like, you understand that I'm not going to stand up there on my own. I can't, because the biggest part of being an independent author is what you do for me. So I hate it that you're such an introvert. I hate it that you're such a shy person, but you're going to be standing up there with me for all of those who are there to see.
There you go, Courtney. I can see some background. So you have to use the teamwork. Have you been to the conventions? Not as a speaker.
I haven't. I want to so bad, but I haven't been able to.
It's in November, but I just haven't made the time or done it yet. But let me know if you guys hit it up and get out there. And
yes, ma'am.
You know, I'll head that way too. But it's something I want to do. I mean, I'm in California. It's not that far. It's not that far for me.
Yeah, it's a flight across country for me, and getting her on a plane, I couldn't even get her on a cruise ship when I pitched the idea of us going on a cruise. Getting her on a plane,
do a road trip.
I don't know that she'll do that either, honestly.
We're going on a road trip to Sturgis from California. We're leaving 9 days to go to Sturgis.
Okay, I told her I wanted to go on a road trip across country. I was like, we'll take 2 weeks to do it. I don't care. And
all the sites.
That's what I told her. I was like, we'll make stops. We'll see everything along the way. I said, we'll go see the Pacific Ocean. I mean,
take a notebook and take notes. Leave the laptop up. I promised my husband there's no writing while we're on the road. I'm leaving, but I will take a notebook. I gotta take something. But Caleb, let me see. You are generously doing a giveaway, so I want you to let our readers know.
So I'm actually going to do 2 giveaways. And this is actually I do make these. This is actually not based off of Tethered, but off the books that will come. I wish I had the picture of the cover here with me, but I don't. You can see it on any of my other pages. But as you can see, it is a resin skull. It has a scented candle on top, and it has a buddy. And these are the 2 giveaways. So there'll be a giveaway for this one, and there'll be a giveaway for this one. The cool thing about these is as the wax melts, it actually bleeds through their eyes and comes down their eye holes and pours out onto whatever beautiful piece of furniture you have them sitting on.
Fair warning.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Caleb. I love those. And you make those.
I do. I make the molds for the skulls themselves, and I got to go through and drill the holes in, and I make the candles myself. I couldn't find candles to fit exactly like I wanted to, so I had to take a wooden dowel and grind it down to the shape that I wanted, and then make a mold for the candles, and then I do the whole wax and this whole shebang for them. So everything you see with these is 100% handmade. I do a lot to kind of do more for my books. So I do the resin pours. I make the candles. I have a laser engraver where I do those. And I just bought a 3D printer to add more to it. So along with the writing and the editing and the publishing, I also do the engraving. We will be starting the 3D printing very soon. The resin pouring and the candles.
When do you have time for all this?
Well, see, I was once told that you're not going to make it just as an author. You have to have different sources of income.
Another hat.
So, and in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I can do merchandise. I can do merchandise for my everything. And so that was kind of where my mind sat at. And I once had an author tell me, you do too much. You're stretching yourself really thin. You just do way too much. But because my time management has gotten so on point, I can make time for those projects and get in my 2,000 to 3,000 words a day. And yes, there are times when I feel like I'm exhausted and stretched really thin, especially battling the vertigo like I am right now. But there's so much relief in doing these projects too, because my mind is so stretched from the writing and the editing and all. These give me see, this is why I love her. She brought me the one of the bookmarks that I do. It's a
STC store.
It's for my Primus Vipers. And we engrave these ourselves, and they're again part of what I sell for my books. And the quote on it is a quote directly from the book. It has a picture of Excalibur stuck in the stone at the bottom. Do we have another of the because we offer two. We offer that one, and we offer one other one that are part of the series that you can purchase separately. And this one looks terrible, but it has that Celtic dragon on it, and it has an engraving as well.
Are they wooden?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
they're wooden. Wow, very talented, both of you.
I don't know if it's talent. I give credit to the machines, but my wife took it upon herself to conquer the learning curve that come with the engraver, and she did. She did a fantastic job.
She really did. And then the other giveaway is from me, and it's going to be a $5 Amazon gift card. Most of you know how this works. You need to go to my author page, and you share this video wherever you can, on Facebook, Instagram, on your page, in your favorite groups. Tag me so I know that you shared the video, and one of you will be in the draw. You'll all be in the drawing for a $5 Amazon gift card. Caleb, did you want to pick the winner after the live, or would you like me to?
You can. That'll be perfectly fine. And whoever you choose, if you're able to, because I'm doing two giveaways, if you're able to provide a list of names, whoever is your first winner, I will do one of the skulls, and then I'll find one from the list to randomly draw for one of the other skulls. Okay,
perfect. And I will tag you when I do it, probably about an hour or so. But that's it. This has been a great chat. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I wish you best of luck with, hopefully, your new endeavor and your career.
Thank you, ma'am.
The writing adventures that's going on. You're one busy man, but please keep it posted and come back again.
Yes, ma'am. Anytime you want to have me, I mean, I will make time for this, hands down.
It's a lot of fun. It really is.
I love doing this. I love seeing things from the chat. I love talking to you. And yeah, anybody who's on TikTok, I do TikTok lives. Anybody who wants me over there as well. So.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, I have a horribly managed TikTok page. Yeah, I've got I think right around 1,500 followers. But anyone who wants to do something like that, I love doing lives. Again, I will talk to a stop sign if it'll stand there and listen to me run my mouth, which is why I think.
Put me on your TikTok live one time.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd love to. I hate the fact that you have to do it off your phone. I don't understand. I get that was kind of where they wanted to go with it, but I'm not a big fan of that.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, they do not allow you to access a TikTok from your desktop or from your laptop.
I'm on my laptop right now. That's how I do these.
Yeah, and see, I'm on a webcam. They don't allow you to do a live through a webcam or through something like that. Yeah.
Well, keep me posted. I'd love to come in and say howdy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. All right, Caleb, you enjoy the rest of your night and say hi to Courtney. Tell her to keep up the good work supporting you. And
Tina says hi.
Keep up the good work. And thank you, readers, for joining us. And I will announce the winners soon. And we will talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.